There's a kind of divorce that nobody prepares you for. It's not the one where he cheated and you hate him. It's not the one where he was abusive and you finally found the courage to run. It's not the one where you fell out of love and knew it was over. It's the one where you still love him, where your heart breaks every single day because you're choosing to leave someone you care about deeply, where people look at you confused and ask, but if you still love each other, why are you getting divorced? And you have to explain something that doesn't make sense to anyone who hasn't lived it. Love isn't always enough. Today, we're sitting with women who made the impossible choice. Women who walked away from men they loved because staying was slowly killing them. Women who chose themselves even though it felt like the most selfish, heartbreaking thing they'd ever done. These aren't stories of hatred or betrayal. These are stories of deep, painful love that couldn't save a marriage that wasn't working. And if you're in that place right now, loving someone you know you can't stay with, this is for you. Because you need to hear this. Leaving someone you love doesn't make you a quitter. It makes you honest, it makes you brave, and it makes you human. Let's talk about the hardest kind of divorce there is. The misunderstood heartbreak. Rachel will never forget the moment she knew. She was sitting across from her husband of 11 years at their favorite restaurant. He was telling a story, laughing, reaching for her hand across the table. And she loved him. God, she loved him so much it physically hurt. But she also knew with crushing certainty that she couldn't do this anymore. Not because he was a bad person, not because he didn't love her, but because their marriage had become a slow suffocation, a comfortable cage, a life that looked perfect from the outside, but was hollowing her out from the inside. When she told her best friend she was thinking about divorce, her friend said, "But you two are so good together. You still love each other. Can't you just work on it?" And Rachel wanted to scream because they had worked on it for years. Therapy, date nights, communication exercises, everything the book said to do. And none of it changed the fundamental truth. They wanted different things from life. They brought each other's smallest selves instead of their biggest. They were kind roommates raising kids together, not partners building a shared vision. Love was there, but so was loneliness, deep, aching loneliness, right next to someone she loved. This is the divorce nobody understands, the one where outsiders see a good man and a good woman and can't comprehend why it's not enough. The one where you question yourself constantly because if love is supposed to conquer all, why doesn't it feel like it's conquering anything? The one where you feel guilty every single day for breaking someone's heart when they didn't do anything wrong. Elena's story stayed for 16 years in a marriage she knew wasn't right. Her husband was a good man, truly good. He was kind to her mother, patient with their children, faithful, responsible. He worked hard. He showed up. He loved her in the only way he knew how. But he couldn't meet her emotionally, couldn't have the deep conversations her soul craved, couldn't understand her need for growth, for exploration, for something more than the predictable routine they'd settled into. He'd try to talk to her about her feelings, her dreams, the books she was reading, the ideas that excited her, and he'd nod politely and change the subject to something practical. The roof needed fixing, their son's teacher had called, what was for dinner? For years, Elena told herself she was asking for too much, that emotional intimacy was a luxury, that stability and kindness should be enough, that wanting more was greedy. She shrunk herself to fit into their marriage. She stopped sharing her thoughts because he didn't engage with them. She stopped dreaming out loud because he didn't dream with her. She became smaller and quieter and more distant from herself every year. And she still loved him. That was the cruelest part. She'd look at him reading the paper at breakfast and feel this rush of affection. This man who'd built her a garden shed when she mentioned wanting a creative space, who made her coffee every morning exactly how she liked it, who was steady and safe and good. but she was dying inside. The turning point came when their daughter, at 17, said, "Mom, you seem sad all the time. Are you okay?" Elena realized she'd been modeling for her daughter that women should settle for good enough, that love means sacrificing yourself completely, that your needs don't matter as much as keeping the peace. That's when Elena knew, not because she stopped loving him, but because she loved her daughter more than she feared the pain of leaving. She filed for divorce on a Tuesday afternoon. She cried the entire way to the lawyer's office. She cried when she told him. She cried through the whole process because you can love someone and still know you can't stay. Elena told us the guilt was overwhelming. He didn't understand. Her family didn't understand. He begged her to try harder, go to more therapy, give it more time. And part of her wanted to say yes because breaking his heart while still loving him felt like the cruelest thing she'd ever done. But she couldn't unknow what she knew. She had one life, and she was spending it in a marriage that was slowly erasing her. 3 years later, Elena is remarried to someone who sees her fully, engages with her deeply, dreams alongside her. And her ex-husband is dating someone who loves their quiet, predictable routine. Someone for whom his emotional bandwidth is exactly enough. They're both happier apart than they ever were together. And Elena says that's the part nobody tells you. Sometimes two good people are just wrong for each other, and loving them doesn't change that. Priya's story is different, but the same. She loved her husband deeply. They laughed together, enjoyed the same hobbies, had great physical chemistry. From the outside, they were the perfect couple. But he had anger issues he refused to address. Not physical abuse, but verbal explosions that left her walking on eggshells. Apologies that felt sincere in the moment, but never translated into lasting change. She'd beg him to go to therapy. He'd say he didn't need it. He just had a bad day. She was too sensitive. He'd do better. And for a few weeks, he would. And she'd feel hopeful. And then something would trigger him, and they'd be right back where they started. The cycle went on for 9 years. Priya stayed because she loved him. Because when he was good, he was so good. Because she believed in his potential. Because leaving felt like giving up on someone she'd promised to love through better and worse. But she was exhausted, anxious all the time, managing his emotions instead of feeling her own. And the worst part? She still loved him. Even when he was yelling about something trivial, part of her heart ached for the man she knew he could be. Her therapist finally asked her a question that changed everything. If nothing changes, can you live like this for the rest of your life? And Priya realized the answer was no. She couldn't. She was already losing herself, already becoming a smaller, more anxious, less joyful version of who she used to be. She told him she needed him to commit to serious, ongoing therapy or she was leaving. He promised he would. 2 months later, he still hadn't made an appointment. That's when she knew. She loved him, but she loved herself more. And those two loves were incompatible. Leaving him was the most painful thing Priya has ever done. Not because she hated him, because she didn't. Because part of her still wonders if she gave up too soon, if she should have tried harder, if love should have been enough. But her therapist reminded her, love without respect, without effort, without change is just a feeling. And feelings aren't enough to build a healthy marriage on. Priya told us that people expected her to trash him after the divorce, to be angry and bitter. But she wasn't. She was just sad. Sad for what could have been if he'd been willing to do the work. Sad for the love that existed but couldn't sustain them. Sad for the loss of a future she had wanted so badly. You can love someone and still leave. The two aren't mutually exclusive. And Priya needed to hear that. Maybe you do too. Jessica's story was like a dream. Successful husband, beautiful home, 2 healthy kids, active social life. She and her husband rarely fought. They were affectionate, they shared values, people envied their relationship. But Jessica felt profoundly alone. Her husband was busy, always busy, building his career, traveling for work, attending events, networking. When he was home, he was exhausted, present physically but absent emotionally. She tried to talk to him about it. He'd say, "I'm doing this for us, for our future. Why can't you appreciate that?" And she did appreciate it. She appreciated his work ethic, his ambition, his provision for our family. She wasn't ungrateful. She was just lonely. She started to realize she'd married a good provider, not a partner. Someone who checked all the boxes on paper, but couldn't give her what her soul needed: presence, emotion.
Jessica's story. Jessica's marriage looked like a dream. Successful husband, beautiful home, 2 healthy kids, active social life. She and her husband rarely fought. They were affectionate. They shared values. People envied their relationship. But Jessica felt profoundly alone. Her husband was busy, always busy, building his career, traveling for work, attending events, networking. When he was home, he was exhausted, present physically, but absent emotionally. She tried to talk to him about it. He'd say, "I'm doing this for us, for our future. Why can't you appreciate that?" And she did appreciate it. She appreciated his work ethic, his ambition, his provision for their family. She wasn't ungrateful. She was just lonely. She started to realize she'd married a good provider, not a partner. Someone who checked all the boxes on paper, but couldn't give her what her soul needed: presence, emotional intimacy, shared experiences that weren't just logistics and schedules. For years, she stayed because she loved him, because divorce felt dramatic when nothing was technically wrong, because she worried she was being unrealistic, expecting more from a busy, successful man. But the loneliness was crushing her. The moment that changed everything was their 20th anniversary. He'd planned an expensive trip to Paris. 5-star hotel, Michelin star restaurants, all the romance money could buy. But he worked the entire time. Laptop at breakfast, phone calls during dinner, checking emails at the Eiffel Tower. And Jessica stood there, alone in the most romantic city in the world, next to a man who loved her but couldn't see her. And she knew she couldn't do this for another 20 years. She couldn't keep being the wife of a successful man while feeling like a single woman. She couldn't keep pretending that expensive trips and nice houses filled the void where emotional connection should be. When she told him she wanted a divorce, he was shocked, devastated. "But I love you. I've given you everything." And that was the problem. He thought love was providing. She needed love to be presence. He thought he was being a good husband by working hard. She needed him to work hard at their relationship, not just his career. They wanted the same marriage in name only. The substance was completely different. Jessica told us the hardest part wasn't leaving. It was explaining to people why she was leaving a good man who did nothing wrong. People accused her of being selfish, ungrateful, unrealistic. Her own mother said, "Men are busy. That's how marriage works. You need to appreciate what you have." But Jessica knew she wasn't asking for too much. She was asking for partnership, for presence, for a husband who showed up emotionally, not just financially. She loved him. She probably always would, but she loved herself too. And she deserved more than a beautiful life lived alone next to someone. The guilt and the grief. Here's what all these women struggled with: the guilt. When you leave someone who's abusive or unfaithful, people understand. They rally around you. They call you brave. They say you deserve better. But when you leave someone who's good but not right for you, people judge. They question. They suggest you're throwing away something precious over nothing. And the guilt is suffocating. You feel guilty for hurting someone who loves you, guilty for breaking up your family, guilty for not being satisfied with good enough, guilty for prioritizing your needs, guilty for the pain you're causing someone who didn't cheat or abuse or abandon you. These women all said the same thing. The grief was compounded because they weren't just grieving the loss of the relationship, they were grieving what could have been if circumstances were different, if he'd been willing to change, if compatibility matched love, if wanting the same things hadn't been so impossible. And they were grieving alone because nobody understood why they were sad about leaving someone they chose to leave. But here's what they want you to know. Just because someone is a good person doesn't mean they're good for you. Just because you love them doesn't mean you should stay. Just because they didn't do anything wrong doesn't mean the relationship is right. You're allowed to want more than good enough. You're allowed to need emotional intimacy, presence, growth, alignment. You're allowed to choose yourself, even when it breaks both your hearts. And the guilt? It's a sign of your compassion. It means you're not cold or heartless. It means you understand the weight of your choice. But it doesn't mean your choice is wrong. Why isn't love enough? Because love is one ingredient in a marriage, not the only one. You also need compatibility, shared vision, emotional availability, effort, growth, presence, respect, partnership, communication. You need two people who don't just love each other, but actively choose each other every day, who do the work, who grow together instead of apart, who see each other and show up for each other. Love without these things is just a feeling that makes leaving harder, but doesn't make staying possible. These women loved their husbands, but they couldn't stay in marriages where they felt unseen, unheard, emotionally abandoned, or slowly erased, where love existed but thriving didn't. And choosing to leave wasn't giving up on love. It was honoring it. Honoring the truth that love deserves to exist in a relationship where both people can flourish, where both people want the same things, where both people are willing to do the work. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go, for both of you. Because staying in a marriage that isn't working doesn't honor love. It just prolongs the pain. The freedom on the other side. Here's what these women found on the other side. Elena found a partner who engages with her mind and her heart, who dreams with her and grows with her, who makes her feel seen in ways she didn't know were possible. Priya found peace, freedom from anxiety, space to rediscover who she is outside of crisis management. And eventually, she found love again with someone emotionally healthy. Jessica found presence, a relationship where she's not alone even when she's not alone, where showing up is prioritized, where she matters more than a career. And Rachel found herself. She's still single and says it's the most fulfilling her life has ever been. She's pursuing dreams she'd shelved. She's building a business. She's modeling for her kids what it looks like to choose yourself. None of them regret leaving. All of them still feel love for their exes, but they also know with absolute certainty that staying would have been a betrayal of themselves. And that's not selfish. That's survival. Ending. If you're reading this and you're in that impossible place, loving someone you know you can't stay with, I need you to hear this. You're not crazy. You're not asking for too much. You're not being selfish or ungrateful or unrealistic. You're being honest, and honesty is the bravest thing you can be.
Leaving someone you love is the hardest decision you'll ever make. It will hurt more than you can imagine. You'll question yourself constantly. You'll grieve in ways that surprise you. You'll feel guilty even when you know you made the right choice. But you'll breathe deeper, sleep better, rediscover parts of yourself you forgot existed, build a life that doesn't require you to shrink, find love that doesn't ask you to choose between yourself and your partner. Because you deserve more than good enough. You deserve partnership, presence, growth, alignment. You deserve love that enhances your life instead of diminishing it. And if you're on the other side of this, if you're the one who was left by someone who still loved you, know this: it wasn't because you weren't enough. It was because you weren't right for each other. And that's not your fault. It's just the truth. So here's what I want to ask you today. Have you been in this situation? Have you loved someone you couldn't stay with? Or are you in it right now, trying to figure out what to do? Share your story in the comments. Tell us what you're struggling with. Tell us what helped you find clarity. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. You're not alone in this impossible decision. We see you, we understand, and we're here. We'll see you in the next video, where we're going to talk about rebuilding your identity after divorce and rediscovering the woman you were before you became his wife. Until then, be gentle with yourself. You're navigating something incredibly difficult with grace and courage. Love isn't always enough, but you are. You always have been.